Hi everyone, we're going to continue with our lecture and look into the light-dependent process of photosynthesis. So in our last lecture, we went up to the point where we have photoactivation of the electrons in the special pair of photosystem 1. And we said that the electrons are going to kind of travel through the membrane and travel via the electron carriers, and it will move towards photosystem 1 was where we got up until. So we're going to have the energy of the electrons as it moves towards photosystem 1 being used by the hydrogen pumps, and this leads to the hydrogen pumps pumping hydrogen ions from the stroma to the inside of the thylakoid lumen. So we're going to have that movement of hydrogen ions. Now, what happens to the electron that we were talking about earlier, the electron that was going towards photosystem 1? Well, because the energy of the electron has been used by the hydrogen pump, the electron has very little energy at the point. Now, this electron with very little energy is essentially going to be accepted by the chlorophyll molecules that are also in photosystem 1. And the photosystem 1, well, it's obviously going to have special pairs which consist of chlorophyll molecules. And these chlorophylls are going to be empty at that point. It's going to be vacant originally. However, because we have these electrons that are traveling towards photosystem 1, they are going to fill the originally vacant chlorophyll molecule spaces. So we're kind of going to have this overall migration of the electrons, which were photoactivated and excited at photosystem 1, moves towards via the electron carriers and gets energy used by the hydrogen pumps, and then moves towards photosystem 2, wherein it kind of settles and then fills the vacant spaces of the chlorophyll molecule. Now, after that, what's going to happen is the electrons that have now settled in photosystem 1 are going to be photoactivated again, and they're going to be accepted by NADP+ in order to form NADPH and hydrogen ions. And this is what we talked about as the second sort of goal of this light-dependent stage of photosynthesis. First was photolysis, and second was production of ATP and NADPH and hydrogen ions. And so now we're going to be producing NADPH and hydrogen ions, and how we do that is quite simple. We have the electrons that have been photoactivated from photosystem 1, and these electrons are essentially going to kind of add up with the hydrogen ions and the NADP+, and it's going to create this molecule, NADPH, which is essentially a reduced hydrogen carrier. And this is later going to be converted to ATP, so again, this is another form of energy storage, but essentially what we do here is we're going to add the electrons that were photoactivated, these electrons, to hydrogen ions and NADPH, NADP+, and we are going to create NADPH and hydrogen ions. NADPH is a type of a reduced hydrogen carrier. So from this process, we've already accomplished this section. Now we're going to look into what photolysis is. And photolysis, this part is very, very important because photolysis essentially provides all of these hydrogen ions that are required in this overall equation. So we're going to look into that now. Now, photolysis, as we have kind of recapped in our previous video, the word literally kind of tells us what's going on here. Photo meaning light, lysis meaning breaking up. In the context of this video, it's going to be breaking up bonds. And this is basically when light breaks up the bonds in the hydrogen in the water molecule. So we're using light energy in order to break bonds in the water molecule. So what's going to happen is pretty simple. We're going to have H2O. We're going to use water. And via light energy, we are going to create these hydrogen ions and electrons. And these hydrogen ions are very important because they supply the hydrogen ions that are needed to be transported from the stroma to the thylakoid lumen and kind of create the proton concentration gradient. So in this video, we've covered two things. We've covered how photolysis happens and how photolysis is so crucial in supplying the hydrogen ions that will establish the hydrogen concentration gradient. We've also covered the production of reduced hydrogen carriers, in this case NADPH and also H+. And we've also kind of recapped how ATP is produced in our last video. So we have covered all of the stages that occur in the light-dependent process of photosynthesis. In our next video, we'll be looking at what happens in the light-independent process of photosynthesis.